All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Cardon Ellis Show. We're continuing with our interview series, eavesdropping on the Illuminati. The first member of the Illuminati that we are interviewing today is Kat Dawes. We're continuing our series about her book, The Time and Space Contract. Last episode, we went through sections 1 through 6. Today, we're going to hit sections 7 through 12. Kat Dawes, say hello.
Hello, I love that I'm associated with the Illuminati all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Eavesdrop. I was thinking of a name for a show, and I was like, I want it to be interesting. And I think that I will never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to incompetence. Mm-hmm. And I also am like C.S. Lewis. I believe that there are so many gods in embryo, as he said, that we really need to take those around us as being much more special and important people. And I encounter so many folks every single day that just blow my mind that I just think the real Illuminati is right around us in our backyard. And you are one of those people, because let me tell you, the Time and Space Contract book that you wrote, I should say, it's in the past tense, is amazing and is changing my life one chapter at a time, and I really enjoy it. So, Kat Dawes, say hello.
Welcome to the present moment. Thanks for having me again, brother.
And for those of you that can't see, she's totally ripped, all right, and not in that crazy, overly ripped chick kind of way. You know what I'm saying? If you're getting offended, you know who you are. You know what I'm saying? But she's basically everything we wish we were in the commercials, and she's got a super cool, like, 80s, 60s hippie headband on right now. When women try to go bohemian, I think this is what they're envisioning, is just you right there, not tubby folks like me. Will Nowism make us skinny like you?
Totally. Skinny thoughts.
Yeah. I think skinny thoughts. That's hilarious. All right. So anyway, we've done sections 1 through 6. We're going to dive into section 7 now. And I'm loving this. Let's see what it has to say here. Section 7 is the art of interaction, or as you said, co-creation. I thought that was really interesting. And I'm just going to read a couple of things you said here. And so, as you wander around the jungles of time and space, you will keep encountering other parts of yourself. 1, interaction causes expansion. 2, her, him, they, us, them, those. And 3, in the experiences of differences, wonder is generated. Let's just talk about this. Why is the art of interaction co-creation?
Yeah, I feel like life is filled with these scenarios that sort of play out, and the people that we collide with on a day-to-day basis are the ones who, they're creating their reality, I'm creating my reality, you're creating your reality, but somehow there's this divine intelligence that's just allowing this epic co-creation,
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's what it means right there. Okay, rock on. I guess that was the answer right there. I was expecting something deeper. Kat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. So what's this? His, her, him, they, us, them, those. In those experiences of difference, wonder is generated. In appreciation of the presence of the difference, magic is experienced.
That's right. I feel like, when it comes to other people, everyone's got a lot of stories about those other people that sort of they, those, them, and I think it's
vegans. We call them vegans. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like it's really helpful in order to celebrate the chaos that can emerge from relationships, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's always helped to feel into the mysticalness of it all and to actually imagine there's sort of a soul contract that's playing out, we've got a deal. And even if you're going to betray me, we had a handshake in the idea sphere where you're like, I will be an angel for you and challenge you to the core. And then you're going to have to grow into this other thing. And, so then there's this superhero thing emerges. And I feel like, those other people have a lot to, to bring to the plate. But it helps if we aren't resisting, the negativity that can emerge,
And it's so interesting that this is what we're talking about, because I love this quote. I should have brought it up. I should have had one of my researchers look into this before I started talking, because I'm going to murder this quote. But I like how he said that we really need to look around at the others in our life and others that we come across as, I remember he used the term gods in embryo. Yeah. And one of the things I like personally about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is they constantly drill home this idea that we're all children of one God, of our Heavenly Father, which does inherently make us brothers and sisters, and really does make us inheritors of that which is divine. And it's a very strange thing to think, because we're so used to thinking of us as, oh, it's just me, I'm not a big deal, I'm small potatoes. If you really actually thought of yourself as
made in the image and likeness, you know?
Is inherently a child of a god or a king. That makes you a prince. And what do princes become? Kings.
Right.
And that would make me like a miniature god if I could just behave like one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but really believe it in yourself unconditionally as that seed of greatness, or as C.S. Lewis said, gods in embryo, or as you even say, co-creators. You know, I think that is the most powerful idea of religion and of spirituality and so on and so forth, because so much anger and hurt and problems and divorce and fights and ruined friendships, ruined relationships, so on and so forth, are just derivatives of identity crisis. What better identity could you have than to identify strictly with the divine?
Right, and then to be looking through a very specific sort of lens where you see the divine in all things. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that is a muscle that I love to flex. And you know what? It creates this beautiful grace when you do collide with another human out there in time and space, and they trigger those sort of more challenging vibes. There's sort of like this undertone because you're living from a context of like, wow, like there's another me, you know, and it's making me grow because I'm so frustrated right now. And so even though there's a challenge, you sort of, as I would say, you have an alkaline response to this format, you know?
So before we move on to section 8, which is free will, and I know you'd expressed an excitement for talking about free will. Mm-hmm. I remember how I just said one of the greatest quotes, or one of the greatest things I took away from C.S. Lewis is that quote of us all being gods in embryo. Is there what's the biggest thing you think people take away from Nowism?
Nowism is really the art of cultivating new eyes for old things. You know, like I believe that we're standing in the midst of a miracle. And when you train yourself to look for a miracle, you start to find them everywhere. Yeah. But you got to take that initial like agreement, the vow to now, you know, like where you decide, okay, I'm going to just
Is it like the citizenship oath? Like, can we all just stand there and like pledge allegiance? Is there like an actual ritual that you do as you sit cross-legged, like you're sitting cross-legged in the chair right now, and just take the vow to now with one hand to the square? What?
It's very secretive.
Oh,
Illuminati
is it secretive?
action.
It is interviewing the Illuminati. Is this the first rite and ritual of the Illuminati?
Totally. Actually, you know what I encourage people to do is to actually design your own vow, you know, because your relationship with the divine is like such a unique, individualized something or other, right? Like it's not a one size fits all with like the way that we like exchange with that thing, no thing, you know? And so to create your own ceremony, ritual, where you make a promise, like, hey, God, source, energy, whatever, universe, the now, like I am volunteering to become an instrumentality for your finest. So gifts, talents, and capacities are going to come through me. I'm going to like be the right condition to be awesome. And so I take that vow, you know, and so it means then I'm sort of obeying this law where I've agreed that life is working for me. I've got to look for the miracles in all things.
Okay, so I love how you say we have to train ourselves. And I, to a certain extent, very much believe so much depends upon our outlook. There very much is self-fulfilling prophecy here. I'm going to ask you to clarify some things in your book that I have read and I love. You say, note, at the end of this chapter, you say, note, it is quite the trend in time and space to do one's bit to, quote, fix the world. First of all, the artist, as we spoke in the last section, the artist is the individualist reading the book, should know that the world isn't broken, and most of all that he or she cannot make the world, quote, a better place by continually noticing and expressing what is wrong with it. So when you say, first of all, that artists should know that the world isn't broken. Yeah. How do you say that? This week, Friends building got smashed in by rioters. 17 people died at the hands of like the starvation, the childhood cancer. Like, you're obviously going for something here. You know what I'm saying? But I think so many people would look at that and just cynically say, okay, this chick has obviously never had a problem in her life if she's able to say that, first of all, no, the world isn't broken. Clarify. How does one clarify
It's a great question, and it's edgy, isn't it? Hey, you know, I truly believe that this format of time and space is designed to be an evolutionary trigger. So every great story that we've ever heard had a moment where everything fell apart. There was a darkness, a loss, a lack, there was fear, there was something, there was an impossibility, and it looked broken. But because of that, there was a call to the lead character, the artist, who had to actually become the answer. And I feel like, the game ain't over yet, people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I believe that we're on the precipice of an amazing revolution right now. I think that whether it's the topic of COVID or racism or whatever the topic is, I just feel like there's a long overdue conversation about, systems and things that could change that would be better for the thriving nature of humanity. And so when I say that the world isn't broken, it's not. We are actually being fertilized into our greatest days. And I truly believe that.
So it's not a bad experience, it's fertilizer.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's
all right.
It's
rock
poo.
on.
Poo fertilizers,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive right into section 8. You title it Free Will, aka the loophole in the time and space contract. Explain.
Every contract has a loophole.
Yeah.
You just got to look for it, right?
Yeah, rock on. You'd be a great tax accountant. All right, keep going.
So at the front of this time and space contract, it's the gag that is actually throughout the entire book. It is in the fine print. It says, it is, unless it isn't, you're given free will. You get to choose, right? So for me, the humor in that, okay, let's say you're bestowed with godlike powers, right? But you're put into an environment of time and space and humanity where most people don't know that we've got these dormant superhero powers, right? And so we're sort of sleepwalking and we're walking around sort of like wondering what's going to go on. And so then we've got this, how do I want to say this? There is a godlike quality and you are so free that you can pretend that you're trapped. You're given free will, you know? And so free will is sort of this undertone in the contract that says, like, here are all the rules, and this is what you could do, but you're given free will. So if you want to be at loss and lack and hurt and worried and not, like, make an amazing life, then that's your use of free will, And I feel like it's a sweet little wink throughout this book where it gives some really big serving suggestions for life, but they're just serving suggestions. You're given free will, right?
Okay.
You get to choose.
So you say free will brings the eternalness into eternity. Free will puts infinity into that which is infinite. Mm-hmm. And free will is that tasty urge. You use a lot of culinary adjectives, I've noticed. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's this sensational and delicious moment. It's this tasty urge. Like, are you the younger brother that Guy Fieri never had? Actually, no, not Guy Fieri. Who's the other Englishman that's always yelling at people in Hell's Kitchen? I don't remember. But anyway, free will is that tasty urge that fires from within the artist and says, I'm going to do this today and nobody's going to stop me.
It's on.
Free will is that endless combination of possibilities that allows all that is to keep on expanding and becoming more of itself. And free will endorses difference and variety, time and space sponsored by free will. So the artist/human being is so free that he or she may choose limitation. So I don't know. You're born with a birth defect that makes it difficult to socialize and or who knows, play sports or just be on the same playing field as others. How does this concept of free will help somebody through that? I've been diagnosed with manic depression. It's kept me down for years. How does Nowism help that person that may be thinking, this is for people that have better lives, get to even better lives, not for those of us that are struggling with something finite, get to a better place. How do you respond to that person?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think that there's a lot of people in this position. Nowism helps you talk yourself into a greater story than the one that you're habitually caught up in. And I'm not saying this is easy, right? The principles are very simple. But to stay focused and devoted and in a new language and because it's so much training, right? But it is a muscle and it can be flexed and strengthened. And basically Nowism will assist people to change their narrative. And here's the thing. For someone who is, let's say, caught up, like really depressed or has something that like you expressed just before, there's a deliciousness, right?
Yeah, there it goes again. There it goes again. I'm getting hungry. Like, I'm legit getting hungry. We got to order pizza next time. Of course, you're like, it's probably against some kind of dietary restrictions.
No, it's not.
We haven't talked about the dietary restrictions of Nowism yet.
There's none.
Dude, Mormons with no coffee and with no booze. You know, Islam with no bacon.
Yeah.
Jews and their kosher. What are you not allowed to do in Nowism?
Do you want to know?
Oh, shut up, for real. There is. I was just making a joke, but there is stuff.
No,
Okay, what?
No.
Hit
You're
me.
not allowed to devour something if your dialogue is saying, this is really bad for me and I know I shouldn't. And da-da-da. If you're going to do it, bless it, love it, be total with it, and like have it. You know, like there's the conflict inside from doing something that you say you shouldn't be doing. So you got this dialogue of like how terrible it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, to me, that's like radical craziness.
So when I voluntarily ingest the pizza, knowing that the complex carbohydrates are just going to flood my bloodstream with insulin and it's going to make me tired and I'm going to love it, even though it's all that pepperoni
right?
and all the cholesterol and just way too much dairy with the hormones in it and just all that stuff, you're saying I shouldn't.
I'm saying that you should, if you are going to, then be total with that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, so just as long as I enjoy the pizza and I don't feel guilty about the pizza, then it's
That's
okay.
better for your body.
Are you fat shaming me? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Back to free will, because, you know, what I was getting to before, the deliciousness of learning how to start a new dialogue in your own brain, right? So let's say you've got legit reasons, like your family's left you, you're feeling really like depressed. You've got heaps of proof as to why you should feel really down, and you do feel down. You've been down for years now, right?
Yeah.
For that person, Nowism allows a new conversation to erupt. It's the conversation of like, what if things changed? Like, what if this isn't game over? Like, what if something happened through me that could throw me forth into my greatest days? Like, what if there was a meaning to this madness, you know? And so I feel like that's the real power of Nowism, and it helps you ask better questions. You know?
All right. Are you saying my questions are bad? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. So let's hit section 9 here. We're going to be ending up, and we're going to be ending at the bottom of the hour with this. You call section 9 the laws of the universe. The quick version. So I assume there's a long version. All right. And it says there are some galactic automatic buttons that have been cleverly created and then activated for the purpose of complete cosmic convenience. It is not necessary to understand all of the finer details of how these laws are holding the very fabric of time and space together. This is not the artist's job. But it is very handy for the artist to know that a few of these laws are his or her relationship to them, and most of all, it's important for the artist to know what a few of these laws are, his or her relationship to them, and most of all, as a being created in time and space, how to use the universal laws deliberately. Okay, so I remember last time we talked, I thought it was very interesting that you basically point blank said, our belief structure can change our reality. Okay. You said the way we choose to believe can change our reality, not just our beliefs about reality, but our reality itself.
Yeah.
Now you're saying as a being created in time and space, we can use these universal laws deliberately. How do we use universal laws deliberately?
Oh, well, first, like one of the laws I like to talk about is the law of vibration. Like everything is actually a vibrating situation. You know, in fact, as a scientist, got very clever and got it, like, could actually see the building blocks of reality of all the things. It's all made of the same stuff, but it's vibrating differently. That's why it looks different, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel with me?
Oh, I feel you.
So in knowing that there's a law of vibration and that I'm vibrating, number one, where am I vibrating at? You know, like what is the frequency? Am I in an expansive sort of willing vibration? You know, do I have a yes in me? Or am I like cowering and being protected and concerned and sort of like worried? You know, like there's vibration is really important, you know, and to understand as a feeler, you know, because how we feel attracts more of our reality. You know, if you feel down and depressed, you're going to notice things that depress you more and more. And the universe will provide you with more proof of that reason to be depressed.
Okay, so let's get practical about this. Let's just say maybe I'm a cynical banshee.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's something, yes, extremely cynical. So cynical, I'm cynical about uncynicizing my cynicalness. No, I'm just kidding.
Sinister.
But how do you, if you find yourself going down that rabbit hole, just thinking, oh, here I am trapped again, or else, oh man, I swear no good deed goes unpunished. Once again, I'm getting in trouble for something that's not my fault, or whatever.
Yep.
How do you stop yourself
Yeah, that's a great
from
question.
doing that and do a U-turn? Like, what do you practically do?
Yeah. And Nowism, the first tool I teach is a switch. It's called the switch.
Okay.
It's called the NEO switch, negative emission offset switch, right?
Okay.
So
negative emission offset switch, the Neo switch.
Yes.
Oh, like Neo from the Matrix.
Right. Neo.
Okay.
Neo means new. I'm going to
Yeah.
make this moment new. So when you catch yourself out, even if it's a justified dialogue of like what's not working and how it's not, you know, things are hard. And if you know about vibration and you know it's important, right, for you to don't like sacrifice this moment to vibing like that, you know? So I'm going to pull myself in and I'm going to vibe a little higher. Like what we want to do is catch yourself in the act and then switch. And what you switch to is what we work on in Nowism. What are you switching to? You know, and it's like loading and coding a new dialogue, a new vibe, and it's sort of fake it till you make it. You know, like just learn to wire, like to fire and wire your brain in a different habit. Basically, that's what we do. You know, we catch that moment and then we switch it.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so we're going to get back to switching and how we can get more effective at that after this short break. This is the Cardon Ellis Show. We're eavesdropping on the Illuminati. See you in a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cardon Ellis Show. We're continuing to eavesdrop on the Illuminati with one Kat Dawes, the author of The Time and Space Contract. All right. We just hammered out, I believe it was sections 7, 8, and 9 of the laws of the universe. And you were just talking about vibrational energy before the bottom of the hour here. And you mentioned how literally you can deliberately use these universal laws to change your life, and that there's the law of vibration. And I was curious, you mentioned the Neo switch, how to, like, when you find yourself going down that cynical road, when you find yourself about to think, here I am trapped again, or else, once again, a bad spot, or else, this relationship sucks, or whatever it is, that you flip that Neo switch, and that alters your vibrations, and hopefully, if I'm reading ahead in the chapter, helps you attract something better. Where do I go wrong?
So the conviction of the switch is really important. There's an agreement that you've got to make here when you go to use the switch of like, you're just done being that guy that complains all the time, or is worried all the time, is concerned all the time.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it to you,
Are
brother.
you saying I'm concerned? No, I'm just kidding.
This is an intervention live in the present moment. Like there's a decision that you have to make where you're like, okay, I'm just going to stop practicing being that guy because I've perfected it. And now I'm going to practice what it means to be a bit more optimistic about life. And when you go to do it at first, it's really hard because you're used to being cynical, right? It's like a groove in the brain. It lights up on scans when they measure
I was going to
this,
say, I've read a lot that actually suggests there is a physical difference where, I don't know if it's from neurons firing. I can't remember all of the scientific language that I read in these multiple studies, but that literally by thinking repetitive thoughts, it's like your brain makes like a freeway for them, so you can think them faster and more efficiently.
It becomes subconscious, so it's automatic pilot vibe, right? So your automatic pilot might be to be just concerned about the world, or worried about the world, or cynical about the world, right? And if that is your habit, and you want to change it, you got to catch yourself out being that person, and then switch, and then actually live in the present moment practice what it feels like to be saying different stuff to yourself, feeling different feels, maybe even changing your posture. You know, like this is how we go about like interrupting patterns.
Do you think some of those physical changes, like conscious physical changes, such as, for example, like changing your posture, do you think attitudes are the horse that pulls the cart of actions? Or do you think that maybe by changing your actions, that then your attitudes will follow suit?
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that?
That's a really good question. It's not really one size fits all. Some people need to clean up the body. Like, in order to change this pattern, I'm going to just stop and I'm going to run right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's through the physical thing that they actually then can get a hold of the mind.
Yeah.
For some people, it's like, I've got to catch hold of the mind first so that then I don't just chow the bad food all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like, but it's a really great
But it's not
thing.
bad food if you're living in the moment,
Right.
You know?
Habits, you know,
Yeah.
you know, it's really an interesting thing to learn about your own wiring and to get really interested in, like, okay, what is my default settings? What is
Yeah.
it that accidentally happens just through habit and practice? You have rehearsed. You're a very well rehearsed version of you right now, right? You're not used to being any other version.
Yeah.
So in order to
Unless
build
it's Wednesday
a new,
and I'm in those heels.
right, and then we're like, you know, next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you become a new person. You got to practice.
So I really feel like this whole entire section 9 honestly could be its own book.
Right.
Because you touch on some really interesting principles here. You say the laws of the universe are one, law of vibration, which we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Second, law of attraction, which you can dive into here for a second. But then there's also the law of polarity, the law of circulation, the law of awesomeness.
I made that one up.
Which I love that one. Just tell me, can you summarize law of attraction, law of polarity, law of circulation, law of awesomeness?
Yeah.
Starting out with law of attraction.
Law of
Hit me.
attraction is that basically like attracts like. Like a moaning person in the world will probably gather with other moaning people. You know, like attracts like, you know.
Okay.
So if you want to, like if you're interested in attracting something new, you've got to offer the vibrational quality of what you want to attract and find clever ways to do that, be that. And then you attract, right?
Yeah.
It's that's one of the laws. What was the next one?
Next one was law of polarity.
The law of polarity. Yeah, you know, like it's this and that. We're in a design that looks like everything's polar, opposites, hot, cold, this, that, you know, and I feel like understanding that we come from oneness, but that we're actually in a spectrum of variety is really, it's helpful, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, there was the law of circulation.
It
It almost sounds like an economic principle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is, you know. Well, giving is the cousin of receive. And so understanding the law of circulation means that, like, you can't just have money come in and hold on to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, wealthy people have this.
That's funny. My wife says that money can come in and we can just hold on to it. You know, she's more than happy with just Cardon, go make that money. We'll hold on to it. I'll hold on to it for you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling her, like, no, let's circulate this around. Maybe get like a new projector, get like a new microphone. You know what I'm saying? She's like, no, we're fine just sitting on it. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So she might have a bone to pick with you on the law of circulation.
Right.
But I think I get what you're going after. Finally, law of awesomeness.
Look at us. There is a law of awesomeness. You know, I just felt like throwing that in there because this is a humorous book, and it's
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty funky to imagine that as a law, like everything's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. I'm digging. So now let's dive. Actually, it took a long time to get through section 9. We're a little bit behind
I know,
on my
right?
schedule here. There's too much awesomeness. So really fast, section 10. I like it was funny how you said X marks the spot because X is 10. Ha ha ha. I got it. Conscious participation in your own evolution. Nowism is the art of deliberately living and creating from the present moment. It is the demonstration of present moment awareness. Nowism is a walking, talking meditation, the art of focusing one's energies for the purpose of deliberate creation. Jump on. How is conscious participation in your own evolution? I have a feeling we're going to get into some practical matters here.
Yeah, and also just there is a this is a refresh of that sacred sort of agreement that you've got with it, whatever God, source, universe thing you believe in. And I feel like when we decide to consciously participate in our own evolution, that means that you're putting your hand up to go through the timeline, right? And to actually work pretty hard to activate your gifts, your talents, your capacities, and to be the best version of you possible in one lifetime, you know?
So this is a pretty powerful phrase that you had right here. And I like how I'm considered a successful radio host just by reading your book and quotes out of your book and then having you describe it. Best job on the planet right here. But I was impacted by this. It says, the human who demonstrates Nowism is the deliberate creator, fearlessly taking all the credit for the state of his or her life and living in a state of awe for all things. So I like how you say that we're fearlessly taking all the credit. I'm a huge personal responsibility person, but that's usually cynically in political discussions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, where we're arguing about, I don't know, welfare programs or something.
Right.
But I really like the idea of fearlessly taking all credit, which we oftentimes associate credit and accountability in a negative fashion, like being accountable for bad actions. We rarely say, okay, I'm going to fearlessly be accountable for the good things happening in my life. I thought that was pretty interesting. Elaborate.
Yeah. So it's, again, noticing those victories and celebrating them. I feel like we're in a real funny era of you've either got the overly egotistical sort of Hollywood vibes, or you've got lots of people.
Hey, we're in Los Angeles here. Whoa. Hey, Hollywood invited you here. What's going on here? No, I'm just kidding.
You know, and then there's that sort of like people are so like that. Their confidence is an endangered frequency on this planet, you know. So to fearlessly take credit for how great your life is, I think it's just a beautiful wink from the universe. It's something to smile to yourself about, right? When you get that breakthrough or something wonderful happens, just to go, yeah, I know that I worked hard at noticing what's working. I worked hard at just being graceful and humble and playful and giving, and you know, and so then as good fortune poured into my life, I know what I did. I know what I've been being, you know, and I feel like it's a beautiful thing.
All right, you know? Excellent. So let's jump on to section 11, well-being, which a lot of us are used to seeing as being the first chapter in self-help books, you know, well-being.
Yeah.
Like you said, stop eating all the complex carbohydrates mixed with all of the sugars, the sodium, the salt, and everything doctors say you shouldn't unless you want to get diabetes and high blood pressure on the same weekend. So section 11, you say well-being. Well, what do you think about this? Well-being is the natural order of things. And then there's about 11 or 12 points that you mention here. There's one stream that flows through all things. That stream is one of well-being. It is steady. Source energy is well-being. To be well, you must be a well-being. And you use the term being as an individual, which I thought was cute. But beyond cute, very important. To be well, you must be a well-being. I have a feeling I'm going to start feeling very guilty about my dietary and exercise habits in about 10 seconds. Go.
Yeah, you know, well, honestly, yes. Eating the holier foods, the active live foods, the lighter foods, there's beauty in that, and it makes this practice a whole lot easier if you're lighter. It's just, I think that's a fact. However, the well-being that I'm talking about in this book is very much about just trusting that life is good, you know, like there's a stream and it's moving and it's one of well-being. And if you are in a state of, you know, illness or something like this is a moving stream, you know, and there is a chance that things can shift and lift. You know, there's well-being physically, there's well-being mentally, there's well-being in the heart, spiritually. I think that being well is, it's a pretty big task, you know, and it goes beyond just drinking water and breathing the air and getting in the sunlight. It has to do with having an alkaline relationship with reality, you know.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. You say in Rule 12 here that if the artist is going to diss the ease of well-being, it will manifest as dis-ease. And I'd never actually looked at the spelling of the word disease and realized it is indeed dis-ease.
Yeah.
One of the greatest artists I ever met, who was actually sampled once by P. Diddy, loved entomology. She was a customer of mine. A super accomplished pianist. Of course, I'm blanking on her name right now. But I remember she was always talking about the root of words and how if we could understand the root of words, she had this theory that we could just go back to the Adamic language where everything would just be expressed and understood and communicated perfectly. And disease really is inherently a dis-ease.
Right.
The artist creates patterns of resistance through chronic thoughts of fear, limitation, restriction, doubt, etc. The feelings may eventually manifest as a physical malfunction. So my mother used to always say, don't think those negative thoughts, you'll give yourself an ulcer.
Right.
Was my mother right?
100%.
There you have it, Mom. You've been validated on national radio. You know?
Here's the thing about disease: is there are usually, like, okay, a disclaimer, you know, but really there are a lot of warnings before that happens. It's that feeling that you have that you really should leave this job. It's that feeling of, oh God, I'm like spending too much time doing this. It's that feeling of, I need to make a change. It's that feeling, it's niggling on you, but it's inconvenient. So you just keep going, you know? And then you start to get tired and you know, you stub your toe in the morning when you probably should take the day off, but you end up working still. And so there's this slow build to the actual physical manifestation of disease, you know, and it's a wonderful thing because it's a clear indicator of like, stop, this is a warrant for your rest.
Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Okay. So what's interesting is just full disclosure here. Mm-hmm. So I got leukemia, right? I was diagnosed 3 or 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I've got the good kind. You don't have to feel too sorry for me yet. I'm firing on 7 out of 8 cylinders and so on and so forth. And I fully embrace modern science, and the oral chemotherapy I'm on still allows me to do, you know, my radio show, my podcast, be able to do just so much of my life, love my children, my wife, participate in sports on occasion as long as, you know, only 10 seconds of running is required, so on and so forth. And so I obviously don't feel like I chose this, but I can't look at our society and I can't look at us and how we've become in this rat race, not as like trapped rats that are giving ourselves cancers and ulcers, like my mother said. I don't think I necessarily chose this, but I also am open to the idea that we're doing something wrong that is making our bodies that were meant to just live like these spirit children, Cro-Magnon hunter-gatherers that didn't really worry about promotions. We just worried about getting eaten by, I don't know, saber-toothed tigers and making it, I don't know, bringing home berries for the rest of the kids, right. and occasionally slaughtering a woolly mammoth, you know, for the family. I can't help but look at our society and feel like we are making ourselves sick. Do you think there is that correlation, or is this just hippy-dippy thinking? No,
100%. There's a correlation. I believe there's a culture of busyness. You know, there is a culture of adrenal burnout. In fact, it's like if you work hard and if you do the time and you blood, sweat, and tears, then you'll get the reward. You know, and so there's this culture of glorified sort of ambition. Yeah. And you know, and I feel like the stress now. Yeah. Most doctors, when they're talking about disease, they start with, you know, it starts with stress. Yeah. And the stress creates the condition then for the genes to activate, you know?
Yeah, and my mom would always say, everybody has pressure. How you react to that pressure is whether or not you choose stress or not. And I'm trying to grapple with what her wisdom is on that. Okay, she was a big self-help book reader.
Was she?
In fact, who knows, she'll probably like your signed copy. Do you like how I just assumptively assumed you're going to give me another copy that's signed? So you do talk about, though, how we always are in this rat race. And if you look at it, this segues perfectly into your next chapter. Because we have this mindset of scarcity. I mean, the reason why it is a rat race is because we're thinking we have to go out there and get those resources for ourselves, for the ones that we love. And if we don't do it this way that has been taught to us, or is the established orthodox way of thinking, or the way that we thought we had to do it as a kid, or the way that, who knows, advice from family and friends and church groups or whatever, or our culture has inculcated in us, that if we don't participate in that race, then we won't get our chunk of the pie, won't be able to feed ourselves, won't be able to have X, Y, or Z thing that we want. Some of that is driven by consumerism, which needs to be condemned. But also some of it I think is legitimate. It's evolutionary and is based on a reality that you do need to go out and constantly be working, it seems. It's almost as though like we were built for that. But it is based on a mindset of scarcity. Our whole economic system is. Yeah. So section 12, which is the last section we'll talk about in this half hour, is titled literally just abundance. No other subtitles or anything. And it says, "Welcome to paradise. It is plentiful here. All of life is in a state of overflow. It was designed this way. All of nature is buzzing in ecstasy for the opportunity to participate in this divine realm of time and space. The abundance here on this amazing planet is directly related to appreciation. Stop now and look around, breathe and smile. If you train your gaze to see the availability, you will never go without." Okay. So I read that and I think that's beautiful. If I were a songwriter, that would be like the prelude. Okay. If I were making Enya's like 27th album, all right, that would be some of the song lyrics. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Hook me up, Enya.
But at the same time, I look at my life and I'm like, crap, all those promises made about going out, getting an education, going out, working hard, so on and so forth, especially a lot of millennials with just all these institutions we were supposed to depend on failing us. And I know that's an external locus of control and that's them, not me. And I need to think more positively and so on and so forth. But I've worked paycheck to paycheck my entire life. And it has not been because of any kind of widespread financial irresponsibility. In fact, many people, upon helping me do my taxes and upon helping me, you know what I'm saying, in different avenues of life that have revealed my personal finances, have actually been amazed that I've been able to support a family and given them as good a life with as much exposure to life and as much art and as much, just life on so little compared to others. So it's hard for me sometimes to think that my struggle financially is just because of a bad mindset when I freaking worked. And I feel like I don't think men were meant to pay bills and die, but my heart almost sinks thinking about how hard you really have to work just to make ends meet. And I almost get frustrated when I hear that.
Right.
So talk a little, but I'm also open to the fact that that also might just be my cynical interpretation. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about that mindset of abundance in the last 2 or 3 minutes here.
For me, if I'm going to use my time in linear time to work and to do a thing, then it better be deeply tied into my soul and my passion. Because if I'm going to be spending all my time doing this thing, right? Yeah. Like if I'm going to invest that, then this is my life. This is my time. This is my energy. This is my feeling. This is my day to day. So first things first is I feel like it's not about that working hard is bad. It's about how you're turning up while you're working hard. Are you so inspired and moved to enthusiasm that you're doing overtime because you love it? This is the I think that there's a funny thing in our culture where a lot of people aren't doing what they love. And that's a tragedy.
Well, can everybody really, we see all these movies about, if you just choose to do the thing you love. Well, I want to be a producer of Marvel movies, $60 million movies. All right. I don't just wake up and positively think of that.
Right.
I don't know a single person that's made an $80 million blockbuster film that didn't have a long, grueling road to get there, but it's the dream that half of us in Hollywood have, right? Yeah. I don't know a single person that became a radio host or that had a super a popular podcast, except for the occasional flash in the pan that does something crazy, have a dirty video online that made him famous, or
Genius.
Threw a brick at a celebrity, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know too many people that didn't get to where they wanted to be in a job that is feeding their soul without a long, grueling road. I don't view it as a thing that you can just switch on and do. Help me bridge that gap.
I think that the thing is creating a romance with the grueling, and that's the difference. Is if you don't truly love what you do, then the gruel is for nothing. But when you love what you do, then that dedication and that energy output and the sacrifice, it's worth it, and there's a wind in your sail when it finally comes. There is a great peace that comes across you where you're like, I'm so glad I stayed in integrity with my soul.
Okay. So I'm wrapping my head around that. I'm thinking, okay, so there's this poor actor that's come to Hollywood. Yeah. He's taken a job that he hates. Who knows? Maybe he's waiting tables and actually dislikes it. Digging ditches, actually dislikes it. How does he develop a love affair with his survival job? Mm-hmm. I see how he could develop a love affair with, maybe if he wanted to be a writer, I don't know, writing children's books instead of the novels he wanted to as a stepping stone. But how do you make a love affair with that which you don't like and is truly a survival job?
Yeah, it's a great question, and really it's a creative reframe from inside of the brain, you know, where as I'm waiting tables over and over, is that I make a moment and I'll connect with that person and I'll go the extra mile. I'll notice things. I'll celebrate something about, like, are they beautiful? Do they have a friendly demeanor? You know, what is it about them that I can just appreciate? You know, like Nowism has it's a way to trick yourself into feeling into the expansion and being dynamically engaged with life instead of feeling pulled along, you know, and something really magical happens from that space. So, and that's my like fine print, is that I promise anyone who does this for a week or two, really fall in love with where you are now. Something will turn up for you and you'll be like, oh my God, I was so busy enjoying everything that then God eventually gave me something to enjoy, you know, like it's like that, you know, the lore is like that.
I am loving this. We're actually going to talk more about that next week. This has been 7 through 12. We got through 7 through 12.
Go team.
For those of you that are just tuning in and listening, this has been a conversation eavesdropping on the Illuminati. I'm your host, Cardon Ellis, and we've been interviewing Kat Dawes of Nowism and her book, The Time and Space Contract. Before we go, how can people reach you? How can people find you? How can people follow you?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. You can go to katdawes.com, or you can actually, Instagram's like one of my favorites, Kat Nowism.
Okay.
KatNowism, or Facebook, you know. I'm out there. Social's where it's at.
You're on the magical book of faces. This is awesome. All right. This has been the Cardon Ellis Show. Our interview series is Eavesdropping on the Illuminati. I've been your host, Cardon Ellis. This has been Kat Dawes. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you check in next week. See you guys in the next broadcast.